Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Bell,
Here.
Curran,
Here.
Freeling,
Yes.
Harrison,
Here.
Hinkleman,
Here.
Majerick,
Here.
Ott,
Here.
Pitchford,
Here.
Ballraff,
Here.
Werfel. Here. Yarborough. Here. Elliott.
Here,
Mr. Chair, you have 12 present.
thank you. We'll do the minutes and then we need to deal with a request to amend the agenda, which will be explained by the admin chair momentarily. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I would make a motion.
Moved by Freeling. Is there support?
Support.
Supported by Majerick, since he's verbalized it, not by hand motion. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oh, same sign. Okay, now, Jim, I understand we need to do something with a resolution A 2311-355. I further understand it's been reviewed and approved by corporate counsel. And this has to do with a TAP grant, a transportation alternative program grant, and please explain what's going on and why we need to amend the agenda to do this today.
Thank you, Matt. We approved a great portion of this resolution previously through resolution A 2310-320. The reason we're bringing it today as an added resolution is because of time constraints, because of the application for that TAP grant. This supersedes the previous resolution because there were some things left out of the other resolution that are not left out of this one.
Just to clarify, does it supersede or does it supplement?
It would supersede, correct? Because it has the same items in the previous plus more.
Well, the resolution doesn't explicitly rescind the previous resolution. So I think the previous resolution will still be effective. This does add the additional information.
So it amends the prior resolution.
I think
but
that's
doesn't
how I would
supersede it?
interpret it, yes.
Okay, is that good with you, Jim?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, it is. So that's why we're asking that it be an added resolution today. And if appropriate, I'd like to make that motion to
okay,
add this.
yes. Moved by Kern, supported by Werfel. Any discussion about amending the agenda to add A 2311-355? All right, no discussion. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Curran,
Yes.
Freeling,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Hinkleman,
Yes.
Majerick,
Yes.
Ott,
Yes.
Pitchford,
Yes.
Ballraff,
Yes.
Werfel,
Yes.
Yarborough,
Yes.
Bell,
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes,
Mr. Chair, you have 12 yeas.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
thank you. Okay, I know we have a few communications.
Yes, you received 4 resolutions, all opposing any legislation preempting local control for solar and wind development. The first one was by Macomb County Board of Commissioners, received on October 24th. The second was from Livingston County Board of Commissioners on October 25th. Eaton County Board of Commissioners, received on October 27th, and Wicksford County Board of Commissioners, received on October 31st. That's all.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go to public comments about resolutions, and that's going to include this resolution ending in 355. Does anyone need a copy of that resolution to read? Anyone among the assembled multitudes here in our audience today? No? Okay. All right. The resolution will be on the website at some point today and would be available for scrutiny once our minutes are prepared and submitted. Is that correct, Madam Clerk? Okay. All right. So we'll do the consent calendar. If there's no objection, we will also add A 2311-355. as an added resolution to the consent calendar. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar with the added resolution?
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Kern. Is there support? Supported by Pitchford. Is there discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Freeling.
Yes.
Harrison.
Yes.
Hinkleman.
Yes.
Majerick.
Yes.
Ott.
Yes.
Pitchford.
Yes.
Walrath.
Yes.
Werfel.
Yes.
Yarborough.
Yes.
Bell.
Yes.
Curran.
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes,
Mr. Chair, you have 12 yeas.
thank you. We'll go to committee reports. Mr. Admin Chair, would you like to lead off?
Thank you, Mac. First in to see us this morning was Under Sheriff Chuck Height to give us the Sheriff's Department report, and Commissioner Volrath would like to report out on that.
Thank you, John. Last month, we had 444 inmates booked. 315 of those were male and 129 female. There were 29 inmates held for the Michigan Department of Corrections, and we sent 14 of them up to the Michigan Department of Corrections. The naloxone vending machines continues to be busy. 70 kits were distributed in the month. They're doing real well. They had the added millage down in Niles Township, and the 3 officers that were added there are helping out tremendously, doing a great job. And the Victim Services Unit, which is a total volunteer unit for the Berrien County Sheriff's Department. During the month of October, the Berrien County Sheriff's Office Victim Services responded to 7 calls for service where they provided support and guidance to the victims' family members and friends and individuals who were needed support from those chaplains who giving of their own time for that. From the animal control and the sheriff's side, they're fully staffed and everything's going well. From the sheriff's department, we'll hear next from our animal control person and see how they're doing, but the first LMC Academy may take place next summer. They're gonna do a summer academy, hopefully. Right now, we've got 2 deputies at the Oakland Police Academy, and Washtenaw has added an additional academy now, and we're gonna have 2 officers attending there in November. So those are other good things. There's a lot of pictures in here from the sheriffs. They're doing a lot of things, a lot of training and a lot of outreach to the community. So take a look at those pictures and see what we're doing. There's a lot of good things going on with the sheriff's department, and we're proud of them. That's my report.
Thanks, Dave. Next in to see us was Brian, and talked to us about a few items. The one item that I want to report out on, and he may elaborate, is the Public Safety Ad Hoc Committee that the chair put together to look at the millages. That committee was, in fact, I'll tell you who made up that committee. There were 3 commissioners, myself, Commissioner Werfel, and Commissioner Bell. And then also present is Brian, our corporate counsel, Thaddeus, finance, Doug James and Ben Reynolds, Sheriff Paul Bailey, prosecutor Steve Perangeli, community development, Dan Fetty, and our equalization director, Warren Parrish. Basically, our recommendation is going to be to keep it the same, not to have an increase in the millage. Although we did discuss, and our recommendation is to have the millage for 6 years rather than 4. Also contained within that conversation was the 911 millage that we also recommended would go to 6 years instead of 4. We kind of felt that the 911 and public safety millages were kind of companions, and that those should be represented on the ballot together. The senior citizens would still remain the same and would be 4 years. So our recommendation, even though a lot of our discussion would definitely justify an increase, we just felt at this time an increase would not be well received from the public. The need is there, but we think we may have better timing if we just kind of tighten our belts and stay where we're at. So Brian, I didn't know if you wanted to elaborate on that, but that was basically our findings. We've got a document here that Brian put together with our minutes, all the research background material on the millage itself. So I think you are going to make that available to the entire board and along with our recommendation. And that the actual recommendation, the resolution, I think it's a resolution, will come through finance, not the administration committee. So Brian, if you want to elaborate on that.
Yeah, so the reason it'll flow through finance is any type of ballot question will be through the clerk. The clerk reports to the finance committee as her parent committee. Typically, if we're targeting August of 2024 for the millage questions, both 911 and public safety, plan on early spring to get the authorizing resolution from the finance committee to the full board. My plan was in late November, early December to do a committee of the whole discussion, just to really go through in greater detail how much work went into this. What you're going to get is a cover letter as well as copies of all of the committee meeting minutes, and then a slide deck that Equalization put together just showing the values associated with millage questions. So it's an abbreviated look, but I can assure you that the committee really did do a good job of beating up the question. Spent a lot of time looking at what the options are available, and then even had leadership from Michigan State Police come in and talk about how some of these dollars are being invested. So significant amount of time went into it. I'll work on updating the admin packet, getting it out to the full board. I'll probably do that later today. Mr. Chair, is there anything else you want uncovered?
No, that's fine, Brian.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Thanks.
Okay, next time we get together, we're gonna have some resolutions for you. First, I want to thank you for the added resolution. We will have a resolution ending in 342. This is the contract between the Berrien County Trial Court Family Division and CASA. So this is kind of a renewal. So you will see that next time we get together. Resolution ending in 344. This is a contract for the Indigent Defense Office. This is for the contracted attorneys, and this is for those individuals whose parents or whose children and parents can't afford attorneys. These are the contracted attorneys, and it is a 2-year contract for 2024 and 2025. Resolution ending in 346. This is to buy property in Baroda adjacent to the Baroda garage. I think Brian has done a very good job of presenting to this board the future of the road department and our buildings. This would acquire the property around the Baroda garage for hopefully a new garage in that location. So that resolution authorizes that, and that is our report.
Questions for admin? Okay, Mr. or Madam Chair of Finance, you're next on the list.
Thank you very much. Our administrator and our chair came in and talked to us a bit, or we were allowed to ask or invited to ask any questions we may have had. We had a presentation to us from Clerk Sharon Tyler regarding the early voting and how many things that she's working on and going to see how other things work with people that have went to Indiana to check that out. So next week, we're going to bring to you 2 resolutions that need to be passed. And one is for the new election fee this is all for 2024. And it's the election fee schedule for schools and municipalities. And then also we have a resolution accepting a lease with Lake Michigan College, an agreement for early voting. That's one of our spots that will be. And then we accepted our minutes. And we had a number of resolutions to sign, the bills payable. If there are any, well, these resolutions, the ones from Clerk Tyler, those are the ones we signed. And just trying to see if that's it. Oh, there are two communities that are going to choose to do the early voting themselves rather than coming with the clerk. All of our cities, townships, and villages have agreed, except Weesaw Township will do their own, and Benton Charter Township will do their own.
Bainbridge and
Bainbridge.
Benton Charter.
I'm sorry, help me.
You're fine.
Bainbridge and Benton Charter Township will do their own early voting spots. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
With the early voting location, this is probably for the clerk as well, with it being at Lake Michigan College and Benton Charter Township also having their own voting location, how can we make sure that individuals in the township aren't confused between those two options, being proactive?
Clerk Tyler, will you answer?
Well, all the voters will receive a notice from the Benton Township Clerk, and we are going to do our best to get press releases out on that. I've been going out, making presentations within the area of Berrien County and learning more about the early voting process. So we're going to make sure that is part of within the county agreement that the media, news media, by mail, the voters are aware.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ma'am, anything else?
No.
Questions for finance? All right, Mr. Chair, PHS.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We met this morning, considered two resolutions, both dealing with the opioid settlement. You'll see those, I believe, next week. One regarding the RFP review team and the other, the RFP process. So we signed off on both of those. We had a request for an advanced step higher from the front of the court, and we're very impressed with the individual they're presenting, and so we did approve that. Then we had a very detailed report from Rick Compton at Riverwood Mental Health, and we asked a number of questions, talked about some of the issues. Mr. Majerick serves on that board, so he was very helpful explaining a lot of what they do. And so then we had the privilege of having both our administrator and our chairman of the board come in and share their wisdom and guidance with us. And that concluded our meeting.
So eloquent.
That's saying a lot. Any questions? PHS. Okay, then we'll go to commissioner reports. We'll start with John. John, you have anything to report? Okay.
No report.
I attended a meeting of the executive committee, the College Access Network, the Strategic Leadership Council, and along with Commissioners Yarborough and Ott, we worked on the medical program for the jail. We had two meetings with respects to that, and then Board of Health meeting yesterday.
No formal report, just want to thank the board for passing the letter of support for House Bill 4906. It'll be voted on probably within the next week or so. So I'll definitely let everyone know what the outcome is, but it looks like it's got good support. It was voted out of committee. All Democrats and all Republicans supported it. So it looks like it's got a good track to passage. Thank you.
I virtually attended the Meade discussion put on by the MyHigh office. They talked about criteria, primary and secondary criteria. They also talked about their 5-year action plan. And then there was probably a good half hour of Q&A. I looked to see how many participants, and at one time there were as many as 132, but for the most part, they stayed right about 125. So good, very well attended. And that's the only thing I attended. So that's all I have to report.
No report.
I attended last week after our meeting Land Bank. We had 2 public hearings during Land Bank, which created a lot of great discussion on the history of some of the housing programs in the area. Attended the Farm Bureau annual meeting on Monday morning, which had almost all of our legislators, including both congressmen, both senators, and two of our representatives, which was great to hear from all of them. And then I attended the MAC Ag and Tourism meeting virtually on Monday as well. And our presentation was the Visitor Bureau Association, which went into some really good heated discussions on different hotel motel bed taxes and if county commissions and city commissions should be involved in them. So anyway, that's my report.
Nothing to report. No report?
Again, just to repeat what was said at the 8:30 meeting, there is no BC BIT meeting this week. It will be next week after our Board of Commission meeting. Again, the MyHigh office came out with their finalization of the first round for the BEAD grants, and Berrien County's recipient through the work of Midwest Energy and Communication for that grant. So that will be great. And then with that, I had some information for everyone. On Monday, after I attended to the Farm Bureau meeting, I went to the Strategic Leadership Council's fall summit, and I presented an update for them. So Annette, if you could scroll down to slide 4. It's okay. I'm a little bit ahead of that one. Hit that one. This is just an overview again of what the tentative award was. And the grant funding was 26 million. I think actually the grant is for 25 million for the final amount. But we're walking away with this project being funded total with $55 million, and it will be 433 miles of fiber within Berrien County alone. If you could go to the next slide. This is the one that I have a handout. Thank you, Brian, for doing this. A little bit of a timeline. It's tentative. If you could take one and pass it around. Tentative of the schedule, because we are on, yes, that one's yours. We are on the timeline of ARPA, of when those dollars need to be spent. So the construction timeline is pretty tight, and they are looking at having this project completed by third quarter of 2025 if all goes well. So you can kind of see if you have any of your municipalities reach out to you and ask, when are we going to start construction? This is the best projection that we have from Midwest Energy and Communication at this point in time. If you'll progress to the next slide. And then on the back side of that handout, you will see this is a map that exists on the county's website through the BC BIT portal. And you can actually click on, you don't have to, Annette. It will interact with you, but you can actually click on all of those blue dots. Each one of those blue dots represents an awarded address within Berrien County. So at the end of 2025, this is where we will have fiber broadband built out to addresses for access. That's huge. It's really fantastic news.
Madam Commissioner, Chair of BC BIT.
Just Terry.
So to all of you, I anticipate over the next week, there's a good chance that several of you, maybe all of you, are going to get phone calls from supervisors asking, why are they getting letters from Midwest Energy related to right-of-way permits? This is it. So I know that the letters are going out so that you're aware. We sat down, the BC BIT pulled together all of the township supervisors when the initial grant award was announced by the state of Michigan. We're working now to get a follow-up meeting with all of the supervisors. The intent is to have Terry Rubin-Thaler from Midwest Energy just sit and talk through with them what this construction schedule looks like, what they should expect as far as permitting, what they should expect as far as potential complaints about the construction process, and then what the partnerships between the townships and Midwest will look like. So there's a lot more information coming. Anything that we're pushing out to the supervisors, we'll share with the board. But just anticipate that you're likely to see either some emails or phone calls. You can steer them to me, you can steer them to BC BIT. this is good news, but change is hard, so I anticipate that we'll have some folks feeling a bit of confusion as they're getting peppered with questions from residents. Mr. Chair, you've got a question over here.
Julie on the show quick.
Can you go back one slide? On this interactive map, while you're right here though, that's on the Berrien County website?
It is on
so that
Berrien
we can send
County,
people there.
yep.
And then on this slide, what's the difference between the maize and the blue?
You want us to say
And
good
Robin.
versus bad?
Well, I want to understand what the difference
Oh.
was.
So the blue is likely because if you read in the portion above, it talks about how in September, the My High office, through vetting all of the applications, actually pulled out 1,500 addresses from the MEC application. 558 of those were within Berrien County. Those two communities in blue are some of those communities that were most impacted by those addresses. So BCBIT has been speaking with MEC to figure out how we can bring them back in, have conversation with those municipalities to make certain that everybody that was initially included will still be somehow included in that. And so we are working on that through BCBIT, because the goal and objective from this board's perspective was to try to get connectivity to all homes and properties within Berrien County.
And just to follow up on that, so Terry said 558, it's 858.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. So we have 858 addresses that we're working to get pulled back into the construction project. It'll never be cheaper than now as
Yeah.
they're building across the entire county. Yesterday, I spoke with Supervisor Mendy from Buchanan Township about this. I'll follow up with Coloma to make sure they understand that they're not going to be asked to pay more. They're going to be asked to contribute in a different way. The townships had already sent letters of support and resolutions of support to Midwest, saying that they would contribute their ARPA dollars as part of a local match to maximize the construction. Since Robin has kicked out 858 addresses, we will still have to go through an RFP. We will have to solicit bidders, but we know that our contribution is going to go down by 858. We hope that through BCBIT to the full board, that we can then bring that number back up to what we had originally pledged. We just don't want to see these 858 left behind.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so with that, I mean, if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to reach out to any of the members of BCBIT or even staff. We'll get those answers to you the best we can. And to that point, I also went to the BEAD listening after my internet finally started working for me. And I think it's really a good thing to note, talking about the timeline. They were talking about using your ARPA dollars to match for a BEAD application, and that the timing is going to be so difficult because they don't necessarily know that you will actually be able to roll this out before 2025 with the award announcements. And we have to have the dollars for ARPA actually encumbered by the end of 2024. And so we're keeping a close eye on that and the timing of all of that. But the fact that we have this grant coming to Berrien County is so huge to get us closely, fully connected. And then the last thing is just trust advisory, and I will leave that to our chair of finance to report out on.
Before we do, there was a question and then another question.
And then could you go back to the map really quick? I apologize.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I see that there are some dots in Benton Charter Township, but it's not on the list between now and 25. Is that some of those addresses that were pulled out as well?
So the names that you see on the list are names that MEC gave. So Lincoln Charter Township isn't up there, but they're part of Baroda. So they just designated wherever the hub will be for construction. And so likely it's somewhere in the mix of all of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
John and Jim.
So, Bainbridge signed with
Comcast.
Comcast.
Yeah, that's why, and They continue to work with Comcast. They chose to go with Comcast after a request for proposal was sent out. Comcast provided them pricing that was quite low compared to MEC. This would have been done months and months before Robin. I have continued to stay in touch with the supervisor there, making sure he was aware that this is out there, that it's coming. The last time we spoke, it's probably been about a month. Supervisor Andy actually came to the last BC bit meeting, so that's 1 month ago. They're continuing with their plan of using Comcast, and the Robin will not build in portions of Bainbridge because they've opted to, Bainbridge has opted to go with Comcast. Now, Bainbridge has not pledged any of their ARPA funds towards the Robin grant. So they will see the broadband construction, they'll just see it with a different vendor.
Yeah, but they did pledge their funds. They were one of the first ones in on it.
Yes.
They did pledge their funds to someone to build it.
Yes, so Comcast is going to build within Bainbridge Township. They've settled on a contract. I can't tell you what their construction timeline looks like. I will happily check with them, but I have spoken with the supervisor. They're still tied to Comcast. I've made sure he was aware of what is coming with Robin, making sure that if for some reason the Comcast deal were not to come together, that this potentially is another option.
But it have to happen quickly.
Yes.
Jim?
I'm familiar with all the zone names except 12 Corners. Where's 12 Corners? Huh? Oh, okay, thank you.
So 12 Corners.
Yeah,
There's a winery.
12 corners of wine. I know where that is. 4 corners. Yeah.
All right. Amy?
Yes, thank you. I attended Land Bank and our director, I'm sorry, I can't think of her name.
Katie Montoya.
Yeah, Katie Montoya, they had a national land bank meeting. It was in Cleveland, Ohio, and it was sold out, the rooms and everything. So it was a very valuable and interesting conference that she attended. And that's her hometown. And so she knew where she was, and they're doing real good things. Also, that day we had our trust advisory pension meeting, and it was with Russell, who is our Russell Investments. And the one young man talked to us, I don't quite know.
So
Would you say something about that?
yeah, sure. So there was a strategic review of the investment portfolio given to the group. We had a gentleman from Russell attend via Zoom, and then Darren Hodgson was in person. Darren has taken over for MJ. Some of you might remember her.
Yeah.
The packets from Russell, both the strategic review as well as your quarterly reports, have been placed in your mailboxes. You all have copies of everything that the Pension Advisory Committee saw. And I'm not sure what else you want me to cover.
Yeah, that's just that. It was
Okay.
that man. I didn't think it was actuary, but that's what I wanted to know.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank on his
Yeah.
name too.
Our account is in real good condition. You set, for years I've been on this committee, you set what you hope to earn, and they always told us that's too high, it's not gonna make that. But this time we did make it. We're in about 7% of income or interest that's happening. One of our things that we used to didn't invest much in, or sometimes was not in at all, was international real estate. And that's doing extremely well. And so that's what it was a good report on where we are and what they suggest that we do. We will meet again in February. We said if the weather lets them. If not, we'll be on Zoom. So it was a very good meeting and timely. Then I was in I'm just trying to see here. 2 days, we did the, listen to the request for proposals for the sheriff's office. And that was valuable. I think it was real good because we came together as different commissioners, came together with the captain and lieutenant from the sheriff's department and with Under Sheriff Height. So we were in here and they were good presentations. And so we're working on that. Then I met yesterday with the Berrien Community Foundation. And I never knew they did this, but they visit different communities in Berrien County to let you know what they do and to encourage you to apply for grants. And so they did it at the Benton Harbor Public Library. And we had about over 20 people that came. And Matheny was the one that did the presentation, and she had a wonderful little folder and all the people that are eligible. You may not have thought about it, or all the things they do. And they have that something they do after Thanksgiving is they wrap gifts and they take them to people that may need it, not need it because they don't have it, but just that it's a perk, it's a raise you up. And so that's something they're going to continue doing. And they ask people to sign up because they usually end up with so much things and so many people helping. But if you're interested with Berrien Community Foundation, and they do wonderful grants, and they showed us or gave us charts that showed that this is a $15,000 grant maximum, this is a $5,000, or they do scholarships. And she told us how they got started with somebody's insurance policy that was $4,000, and it is giving forever. That's how they've been in business 71 years. I think that's the number. So that was just very interesting. And I was glad that they did it at the library. I'm just trying to see. That's it. That's all I know.
Okay. Brian, anything?
Yeah, so a couple of notes. So I'm really disappointed. Last year, we had a truly fun competition going between myself and our prosecutor. It was the Iceman mountain bike race. So I'm so disappointed he's not here. He opted out of the race this year, so. Your words. So I'll be out of the office tomorrow, heading up to Traverse City to hopefully not freeze to death. And then for the board members that weren't in the building this week, you missed out on some fun. City of St. Joe tried to essentially force us out of the county seat. We had no water in this building on back-to-back days, so there was a main break. And unfortunately, we had no functioning toilets, sinks, or drinking fountains for a bit of time. So it's a good way to make friends amongst your coworkers when you tell them walk to the court or just go home. Those are my comments. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
One more.
Yes, ma'am.
I found one more thing I did. I went to the what is it?
Farm Bureau
The
annual
Farm
meeting.
Bureau annual meeting, the breakfast, and I've gone many times. It's real interesting. And after they redistricted us and divided all that up, it was great to see these names of people that we didn't, necessarily know who they were. And they had real good information for us. And I was pleased with, there were some things pretty strongly said, but nobody was scared. And so it was good conversation and we learned a lot.
I've got to go to a doctor's appointment, so Terry is going to wrap up. See you all next week.
Be well. Take care.
All right. Well, thank you all for your commissioners' reports. Greatly appreciate that.
You're a general public.
All right. We are now at that point in the agenda for general public comments. Anyone who wishes to address the board can do so by going to the podium, state your name, jurisdiction. You have 2 minutes to speak with the board. Anyone?
These work pretty good. I heard everybody. Somebody didn't turn the mic on over there. You. No. Anyway, I want to say something about last week. You know, that lady that was here, I said something that most of you heard it and everybody laughed. And she's yelling, I was rude, right? Now, let me tell you about that young lady that was there. She and I go back about 12, 15 years. When I stopped jogging because of my bad knee, I joined the club out there, South Shore Racket Club. She was teaching some classes out there and I was participating in some of her classes. Plus she took some classes with me, like yoga, some of the other ones. So I got to know her real well. So when I said, how about giving me a card? That was not being rude. I was complimenting her. Because somebody doesn't take that the same way as I do. Now, when I was complaining about that picture over there, I'm half cut out. Now, why is her name up there? Why don't you have the whole screen up there with that picture right there? No, that guy participated with her a couple of weeks ago. He didn't complain or anything. I don't remember him putting his name up there. I remember he put the regular picture up there. So I don't know what's going on, but I'm not moving. And then what's his face there, who's gone now, said, why don't you move? And then that's being rude. All they had to do was move that picture back where it was before. And then somebody's yelling at me, well, so-and-so complained because she wasn't in the picture. Well, I didn't notice that. So I don't know whether she's just trying to take it out on me. She's being rude to me. Maybe I ought to change my name, a German name, get the E off of there. It's Rudy. You start calling me Rudy, okay? Rudy? So you guys, you take a look at some of the other counties, see when they meet.
2 minutes, sir.
They right there. That's being rude. Because when somebody else does that, they're not rude. It's just me.
Mr. Pelzer, thank you for your comments. We appreciate you being here. Is there anyone else that wishes to address the board? Is there anyone else that wishes to address the board? All right, seeing no one running to the podium, we will close public comments and go to other business. Is there any other business to come before the board? All right, seeing none. Announcements and reminders. County facilities will be closed on Friday, November 10th in observation of Veterans Day. There is no Board of Commissioner meeting on Thursday, November 23rd in observation of Thanksgiving. County facilities will close on Friday, November 24th for Thanksgiving holiday. And then there is no Board of Commissioner meeting to be held on Thursday, November 30th, as it is a 5th Thursday. So those are the announcements and reminders. Put them in your calendars. Nobody wants to come and knock on the door and be standing out in the cold because they forgot.
Just one more time, VC Bit is not today, it is next week.
And thank you all so much for your support on that and for all the work that you do for the county.